Thank you for joining us for this second session here today in our Climate Mobility Pavilion. We're looking at localizing early warning systems, really looking at the intersection of early warnings to early actions, what is needed to make available information in ways that are useful to the people who need to act on that information. And we are very pleased to have organized this session in partnership with the University of Vermont and the Global Network of Disaster Reduction Civil Society Network. We have Minister Maina Talia from Tuvalu, who got called into the plenary session, but he has kindly appointed his colleague, Mr. Penivao, to deliver his keynote remarks. And so I would invite you up to the panel when you're ready.
Testing. Thank you, moderator. And I will deliver opening remarks on behalf of Honorable Mai Natalia, as he's now attending one of the high-level sessions at the main plenary. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, I speak today on behalf of a nation on the front lines of the climate emergency. For Tuvalu, early warning systems are not a technical luxury. They are essential tools for survival, vital to safeguarding our people, our islands, and our way of life. As sea level rise and extreme events intensify, building localized and people-centered early warning system is central to our national resilience. Tuvalu is among the world's most geographically dispersed nations. Across our 9 islands, climate threats vary but are increasingly severe. King tides flooding homes and bulaka pits, saltwater intrusion contaminating freshwater lenses, cyclones and storm surges growing more unpredictable, coastal erosion undermining community infrastructure. We have limited land, limited evacuation routes, and limited redundancy. That means every minute of warning counts, and every gap in the system carries immense risk. Not all islands have equal access to sensors, communications technology, or trained response team. Equipment is often outdated, damaged by salts or storms, and difficult to service. Warnings must reach people in the formats they use and trust, such as radio, SMS, churches, island council, and community leaders. Our communities need training to interpret alerts and act quickly and safely. Maintaining, updating, and localizing systems requires long-term support that many small island states struggle to secure. Localizing early warning system is not simply about installing hardware, it is about empowering communities and ensuring warnings lead to immediate, informed actions. This means each island shapes its own alerts protocols based on local risk and lived realities. Training youth, women's group, island councils, and community disaster teams to interpret data and disseminate warnings. Our traditional ways of reading tides, winds, birds, and currents remain indispensable for anticipating hazards. Using multiple channels so that warnings reach every household, including the most remote or undeserved. Ensuring that our older people, children, and people with disabilities are accounted for in all response plans. I am proud to highlight Tuvalu's growing partnership to transform our early warning systems, together with the Global Center for Climate Mobility and ATMO. Tuvalu is now piloting cutting-edge AI-powered weather forecasting tailored specifically to the realities of small island communities. This collaboration strengthens our ability to anticipate extreme events with greater accuracy and lead time, even in remote out islands where data is limited. It has also enabled us to integrate scientific forecasting with local knowledge, creating alerts that are more precise, more local, and more actionable for our people. This partnership shows what is possible when innovation is driven by the needs of vulnerable communities and grounded in genuine collaboration. Tuvalu is already taking important steps. One, expanding community-based climate preparedness training in Funafuti and the outer islands. Two, improving tide and rain gauge networks to enhance real-time monitoring. Three, strengthening coordination with regional partners under the Pacific Resilience Partnership and the Global Early Warning for All initiative. Last, integrating localized knowledge, AI-based tools, and community leadership into a new generation of warning systems that serve every Tuvaluan. These steps demonstrate our commitment and what small island states can achieve with the right support. What the international community must do is to scale up financing for early warning systems, invest in community-level infrastructure, such as community communication systems, backup power, local monitoring stations, and safe shelters, and support digital access and connectivity, ensuring that even the most remote families can receive timely and accurate alerts. To honor commitment on loss and damage, because warnings alone cannot stop sea level rise or protect land already disappearing. And last, listen to local voices, whose knowledge and leadership are essential for effective climate resilience. To conclude, Tuvalu may be small, but we are determined. Localizing early warning systems and pairing community knowledge with AI-driven forecasting is central to our strategy for survival and climate resilience. With continued partnerships and investment, we can ensure that every Tuvaluan receives warnings that are timely, understandable, and life-saving. Let us commit to turning early warning systems into early action, and early action into lasting resilience for frontline communities everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and please extend our thanks to Minister Miner. I would like to invite our first presenter, our co-organizer, Mr. Adesu, Regional Coordinator of the GNDR for Africa, to give us an introductory presentation before we go to the panel. Adesu, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kosivia Desu. I'm the regional lead for Africa of the Global Network for Disaster Reduction. It's my pleasure to share with you the outcome of one of our projects called Localizing Yearly Warning System. The first question we can ask is, why are we localizing yearly warning system? And what for? And I think okay. Thank you. So why are we localizing early warning system and what for? And how localizing early warning system can lead to effective and useful anticipatory action. So just to remind you that the project consists of enhancing civil society organization participation and engagement in the localizing of early warning systems. That's the project objective. And in terms of channel, let me say, we organize activities at global level, national level, but to influence the global process of the implementation of early warning system. And therefore, we've collected some information from our members. We got 408 respondents from 88 countries who try to share their experience on the implementation of early warning system and anticipatory action. We also organize at national level in, as you can see, actually 6 countries, national workshops where we try to convene civil society organizations, national authorities, national med services to reflect on the implementation of a localizing early warning system, and also to understand a bit the difficulties, the gaps that might exist. Then at the end, during the global platform on disaster risk reduction in Geneva this year, in June, we organized a global seminar where we convene also global actors plus, and some local actors to share some insights and reflect on the next step in terms of localizing early warning system and anticipatory action. So very quickly, I will take you through the outcome. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we collected the information from 408 respondents from 88 countries. 92% of the respondents are gender members, so our members. 8% are coming from the UN agencies. 2% are coming from local governments, and academia cover the gap, 3%. In terms of region, we collected information, at least 20% of respondents come from Asia Pacific, 45% from Africa, 8% from Middle East, and 21% from America, from LAC, and 6% from Europe. I'm going to share with you, because of time, some findings. So again, the findings are splitted this way. We try to understand the current situation of early warning system, so the status, how communities are engaged and how are they aware about the topic itself, and finally about anticipatory action. So in terms of findings, and believe me, we have tried to summarize things, so we are not sharing everything here. We can discuss later if you are interested. As you can see the map, the effectiveness of climate change rates is variable from country to country. So countries like Bangladesh, Chile, Egypt, and USA are seen having very effective system in place, where countries like Chad, Colombia, Kenya, DRC, and Tanzania are rated very effective. This is what we collected from them. And there is kind of mixed opinion on Haiti, Mauritania, Pakistan, and many other countries. So one of the members from Morocco said the effectiveness of early warning system in Morocco is moderate and varies according to risk. Meaning that, again, when we are talking about early warning system, we are not yet in some countries covering all the hazard, all the risks that we can be exposed to. I will go. So in terms of community engagement, which is the second aspect of my presentation, we have collected some findings. I've just selected some among them. The word variability in community awareness. So again, you can see that not all the communities are sufficiently aware of the issue. And where communities are aware, we've seen later that early warning system and anticipatory action is more effective when communities are associated and are aware of the topic. I will not go into details. I hope this summarize the graph summarized very clearly what we found from the ground. But it's important to mention that almost 30%, if not 40% of our members or the members we consulted said they have no information about early warning system and anticipatory action. 30% are not informed at all. Only 28% are informed, and only 5.4% of the members we interview are very informed about early warning system. And when we say people say are informed, it doesn't mean they are engaged in the process. They've heard about it, they know about it, but they've not played any important role probably in the process. Another findings that I'm sharing with you, come on. So essential role of communities engagement. Again, we try to think of the role communities play or local community play in the early warning, and many communities remain very passive. Passive means maybe the National Meteorological Service has collected information and has just shared the information with them, or sometimes they are in a network WhatsApp groups where they receive the information, but they do not know how to transform firstly those information into action. We got also this from a member from Nepal. There is no strong feedback mechanism in Nepal. The lack of proper feedback mechanism in Nepal, in early warning system, of course, hinders the assessment and its effectiveness. Without systematic evaluation and community input, improvement cannot be identified, leading to persistent gaps in communication, response strategy, and overall disaster preparedness. Because people don't have access to all the needed information on time, sometimes they receive the information, but they are not capable to transform the information into action, and this is increasing their vulnerability to any hazard that might occur, even if the event was predicted. In terms of anticipatory action, one of the findings is that the local leadership is very crucial. And when we talk about local leadership here, we mean local actors should be associated from the beginning, so should be present on the whole chain. We know that the local actor might not be able to collect or observe the nature, that's the specialty of the Met services, but it's important to associate them when interpreting this information, because they are living the area, they know their environment, they understand that environment, they have some local knowledge that they use to reduce their exposure and vulnerability, and it's important to make sure that all this knowledge are valued when this exercise is done at national or local level. Another finding, oh my God. All right. Another finding is proactive measures yield tangible benefits. So once we are capable to put in place effective anticipatory measures, we generally benefit. The dividend is very high because we reduce our vulnerability, we reduce the severeness of the threats on the lives and livelihood. Oh my. So yeah, okay. So this is one of the statements we got from a member from India. He said, our organization engaged in anticipatory action based on early warning system, particularly for hazards like flood and river erosion in SR. We support communities by providing preemptive interventions such as distributing emergency relief kits, reinforcing shelters, and conducting evacuation drills before flood events occur. This shows clearly that by engaging local actors, and when I mean local actors, I'm talking about communities, I'm talking about small NGOs, you can really take some actions that are very valid for the communities, that help communities to be sufficiently prepared. It doesn't mean that the hazard will not happen. The hazard will happen, but probably the impact on communities will be low than if they were not informed, if they were not prepared enough before the hazard occurred. Some conclusion. I know I've jumped some of the findings, but in terms of conclusion, and I will go to the recommendation letter, we say it's important to limit inclusion, or I mean the limited inclusion and participation of early warning system in early warning system communication. So again, early warning system reveal of a very specific topic with its language and its vocabulary. And if this is not well understood by communities, you can provide the information, but probably the capacity to transform the information into action or to understand that information is limited. And this can impact the capacity to react before any hazard occurs. One of the conclusions also is the communication, the challenge in communication, accessibility, and comprehension. So again, we are not sure communities access the information, and when they access it, we don't know if they understand it, and if they understand it, we don't know if they can spread it. So these are serious barriers that we need to try to sort out in terms of improving the early warning and anticipatory action on the ground. The third conclusion is about the variability in early warning system effectiveness across countries. We know most of the hazards we are dealing with, at least as they are today, are transboundary hazards. Unfortunately, not all the countries have the same level of preparedness, of capacity to afford or to work against the impact of this hazard. And this significantly affects also the effectiveness and the usability of early warning and anticipatory action. The two last conclusions I would like to share with you are about strengthening community engagement and localized early warning system. It's really important to bring the early warning system from the top, where it is now, to the local communities and help these communities to really own the process. In doing so, early warning system will not be seen as technician tool, but it will be seen as a tool put at the service of resilience, put at the service of communities for their own well-being. We think it's also important to address the funding crisis with forecast-based financing. So, again, as we know, funding is a big and serious issue, and local communities are suffering more about accessibility. So it's important to really break down and channel the resources to the local communities for them to be able to implement early warning system and anticipatory action. In terms of recommendation, some of the recommendations are about enhancing inclusion and community participation. So we think the national ministries are doing an important job at national level, but they cannot, their work is not sufficient, and accessibility or availability of information is not sufficient to deal with vulnerability, to deal with disaster preparedness. Therefore, it's important to make sure that local communities are associated from the beginning and are playing an important role to make the information accessible to all. It's also important to improve the communication and accessibility issue by making sure that the vocabulary, the message, is comprehensive and accessible to all. We think it's also important to expand and strengthen early warning system infrastructure, and data system. Again, we know that there are countries where you can have only one center where you can collect information, and this information are not sufficiently disaggregated. It's important to make sure that this information, we have more centers, we have more infrastructure to make sure that information are accurate and are reliable. Finally, I think the heat, okay, no. Finally, we think it's important to ensure sustainability and flexible funding mechanisms. Again, early warning system and anticipatory action is about permanent accessibility to resources. And as we say, communities don't have that access, and this is really limiting their capacity to really play an important role. It's also important to integrate early warning system and anticipatory action into national policies. In most of the countries, the legal space is not really recognizing the importance of the early warning system and the AA, and this is a kind of limit in terms of fund mobilization and implementation. And we also think, finally, that it's important to invest in capacity building and knowledge sharing. Of course, early warning system seems to be very easy in terms of understanding, but not easy in terms of implementation. And therefore, people need to continue to continuously build the capacity of people and really make sure that the information is broken and accessible at the national and local level. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take more questions from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adesu, for that comprehensive overview of the findings, and it shows that there's still a lot of work to be done. I think we know that, setting up the early warnings just based on information on various hazards is a challenge, but you also highlighted then the gaps in terms of translating that to communities and making sure it's anchored in the national policy framework. We'll talk now a little bit more in depth about all these challenges with our distinguished panel, and I would like to invite our panelists up to the stage to take their seats. We have first with us Dr. Imran Hamid, who is the Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Punjab in Pakistan. Thank you for joining us. We also have with us Dr. Animesh Kumar from the UNDRR office in Bonn. He heads that office. We have with us Mr. Zakir Hossain from Krisoka Sor, or Farmer's Voice in Bangladesh. Thank you for joining us. And my colleague Tino Kunda, hello. Chimhova, one of our youth fellows from Zimbabwe/Botswana. Please take your seat. And I will be joining you on the panel. Director Hamid, I would like to start with you and hear about the situation in Punjab as regards climate information, getting it to your agency, making sure you have the information, but then also making sure the public is informed about risks, both longer term risks maybe like heat and drought, but also then short-term disaster warnings. How are you dealing with that, and what are some of the challenges and solutions that you have encountered?
Well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to tell about the early warning systems established in Pakistan and especially Punjab. See, we are the biggest province. Punjab is the biggest province of Pakistan, having a population of more than 137 million people. We have an area of more than 2 lakh square kilometers. And we are the economic, industrial, and the agricultural hub of Pakistan, where 55% population of Pakistan lives. And as you know that when we talk about the greenhouse gases emissions, Pakistan's contribution is just less than 1%. But when it comes to the disasters due to the global warming or the climate change, we are one of the top 3 worst hit countries. And when we talk about top 3 worst hit countries, obviously 55% of population while living in Punjab gets the heat of it. The climate change disasters have hit us and hit us very hard. However, under the leadership of the Chief Minister Punjab, Ma'am Maryam Nawaz Sharif, and our Minister for Climate Change, Ma'am Maryam Aurangzeb, we have established a very comprehensive early warning system, because we feel that the early warning system is the key to save lives, to save, destruction of properties, to save livestock, and to save agricultural lands. So if we talk about the early warning system, we'll have to see what is the composition of population we have in Punjab. So broadly speaking, we can categorize or divide the population into 3 categories: the urban population, the peri-urban population, and the rural population. We have established different strategies for different types of population. When I talk about urban population, since they are more educated people, they have more access to the technology, they use cell phones, they use internet, etc. So for them, we have made multiple platforms of different websites, different WhatsApp groups, different social media channels, through which when we trigger any early warning sign or early warning system, the urban communities immediately respond to that, and our message spreads within the urban circles very urgently or in a jiffy. When I talk about the peri-urban areas, ladies and gentlemen, in the peri-urban areas, we use a mixed approach. Because in peri-urban areas, although the use of social media and the electricity supplies, etc., are good, but they are not that reliable. So in addition to circulating message on the print, electronic, and the social media, we also engage local community leaders, local mosques, because overwhelming majority of Pakistan belongs to the Muslims. So the messages given by the mosque is extremely important. Likewise, we also engage school teachers, and then in this way we spread the message. And we also do the show of the government machinery. It goes to the streets and immediately start telling the people that this is the early warning sign of any disaster which is coming, and you should be prepared for that, and you should respond to certain types of instructions. However, the real challenge comes when we go to the deep areas, to the rural areas, to the far-flung areas, to the underserved communities, where we don't have a reliable electricity supply, where people are less educated, people are underprivileged, people do not use much social media or the electronic or the print media. So there we have a complete system of the union councils, a union council comprising of a unit with 10,000 people. And in the union council, we have union council secretaries and a little council. So all those union council members are part of that integrated system which is centrally connected. So immediately in the rural areas, the union councils are triggered, and these union councils immediately start going from home to home. They are again connected with certain village level committees. So these village level committees are activated, and in this way we spread this early warning system. Now I come to the challenges. See, when we talk about climate disaster, the traditional hazard which we are facing since decades is the flood. So as far as the flood is concerned, our early warning system are very well established, and starting from the lower village level to the cluster of villages which we call union council, and then tehsil, district, division, province, and the central level, the warnings of the floods go quite easily. But in the recent years, a new phenomena which has happened due to the climate disasters or due to the climate change or the early warning system are unexpected weather events. We are having, cloud bursts, we are having hailstorms, we are having drought-like conditions, we are having unexpected heavy outpours. So we really, we are really struggling in this way, that since we don't have much information as far as the environmental protection agencies are concerned or the disaster management authorities are concerned, we ourselves lack information then when these cloud bursts or these unexpected weather events are going to take place. So since we don't know, obviously it is extremely difficult for us to convey information as an early warning signs. However, Government of Punjab is taking serious steps to gauge the early warning signs. We are installing air quality monitoring stations in almost all the districts of Punjab. Previously they were just 3. Now we are going to increase them to 100, so that we can have all the parameters purely mapped, and after mapping of those parameters, we pass through those parameters and the data from different satellites, different international applications, and other all sources. We pass them through an artificial intelligence machine, and we are trying to forecast all these unexpected weather events. So an exciting thing is going on. I'm quite hopeful that in the coming 3 to 4 months, Punjab of Pakistan will be in a position to forecast these unexpected weather events, and then the early warning system already established for floods will be utilized, which is a time-tested system, which is already people understand that system, people have acceptability towards that system. So we are quite hopeful that we'll be in a position to pass the early warning signs of these unexpected weather events, and we will be in a better position to save lives of human beings, save lives of livestock, save destruction of houses, commercial areas, as well as agricultural lands. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I understand that you have a flight to catch, so I would like to ask a question right now as a follow-up, which is, was there for you a kind of before and after in Punjab, like before you had systems in place and after, and a kind of noticeable difference in terms of impacts and loss and damage?
Yes, that is extremely important, because if we talk about if I just talk about floods, so there are two very heavy floods which we have encountered in the last years, first in 2022 and the last is just 2025, we are still trying to get out of the hazardous or the disastrous impacts of the floods of 2025. More than 5 million people got displaced from their houses in these two floods due to partial or complete destruction of their houses. Around 50 million people got affected. 1.2 million acre of agricultural lands came under this flood water, and we are facing a small size of the food crisis due to this thing. Likewise, around 0.15 million livestock, precious livestock got it was flooded from their areas and they lost their lives. So this is the system and this is the magnitude of disaster which we are facing, and we feel that the early warning system, if established in a proper way, would help us a lot to mitigate the effects of the disaster from these climate induced disasters. And let me tell you another thing, that if the early warning system which is already present, had it not been working, we would have faced around 3 to 4 times more disaster which we are facing right now. But again, more importantly, the flood which used to be a traditional flood from the flowing rivers due to melting of the glaciers or coming from the upper riparians to the lower riparians was something which we are used to, and early warning system etc. takes place, and that is already in place. But to add insult to injury, what happens that on one side we are receiving water from the upper riparians of obviously our irrigation systems are there and we are gauging the flow of water etc. But at multiple places cloudbursts take place, heavy outpour starts, and it starts like for days, continual rains for like hours and hours, and due to that reason even the urban centers start facing the urban floodings. So for this thing, we are now procuring all the modern gadgetry which is available. As I told, that we are procuring the air quality monitoring stations. One air quality monitoring station is around 10 million Pakistani rupees, and previously we had just 3 air quality monitoring stations, and those 2 were gifted to Pakistan's Punjab by Japan under the JICA project. But now the government of Punjab, keeping in view the sensitivity of the matter, is procuring around 100 more air quality monitoring stations. You would be happy to know, and I am pleased to tell here, that the budgetary allocation of Punjab has increased to 188% in the sector of the environment and the climate change. For example, in just 2 years back, our resource allocation for environment related initiatives was just 5,000 billion Pakistan rupees. Now it has increased to 15,000 billion Pakistan rupees. So it's an increase of 188%, and it shows that how government of Punjab under the leadership of our Chief Minister Mariam Nawaz Sharif is serious towards tackling the climate disaster and to save the lives and properties of people of Punjab.
Thank you very much. One last quick question, that is around evacuations and people having to move. We know that often people do not want to leave their land or their properties. They want to protect their belongings and also their loved ones. What is your experiences with that? I'm also asking because Mr. Adesso presented on the effectiveness of anticipatory action. And that, of course, can mean different things. It can mean giving people resources so they can better prepare, but it can also be asking them to get out of harm's way. And I wonder what your experience is with people's willingness to evacuate or longer term to move out of areas that are particularly at risk.
Well, when we talk about this evacuation thing, it is extremely important that when the disaster strikes to a community, the first and foremost response is to rescue people. So after the rescue, we have a complete system at district level to rescue the people who get affected, and for that purpose we have a dedicated service which is called Rescue Department, Rescue Emergency 1122 Department. Actually, this 1122 is the emergency rescue helpline, and the name of the department too is the Rescue Emergency Department, having the helpline of 1122. So this rescue department has all the gadgetry. It has ambulances, it has cranes, it has the cutting machines, it has different types of machinery, the tractors, trolleys, etc. So they immediately go and with the help of the provincial disaster management authorities and the local district administrations are given money and the resources so that they can immediately get the tractor trolleys and all the other machinery which is required for the rescue from the local market, and after hiring that machinery we go and rescue the people. After rescuing, we take them to the relief camps, because after the rescue stage the relief stage takes place. Actually it is a complete spectrum of 3 R's: rescue, relief, rehabilitation. So in the relief sector we have relief camps, and in those relief camps we provide them food items, non-food items. We establish temporary schools, we establish temporary hospitals, dispensaries, vaccination plans. We establish vaccination and the special centers for the livestock, etc. So in this way people are given some kind of a relief, and after that relief the rehabilitation program starts, where people go back, and after going back they are giving some money, etc. Through a transparent system, so that they can rebuild the houses. And at the end, the 4th one is the reconstruction, because the heavy infrastructure which gets damaged, for example roads, buildings, public schools and the public infrastructure. So all the 4 R's of this disaster response, which includes the rescue, relief, rehabilitation and reconstruction. So we are working on it. But important thing is that Pakistan being the developing country, we have limited resources. Our resources are already overburdened, and for this purpose we are here in COP to tap the fundings of different climate related funds like GCF, like any other fund which can come and help us to mitigate the effects of disaster. And since we are showing our seriousness towards the climate risk assessments and climate risk responses by increasing our ADP, the annual development programs allocation, having a sharp increase of around 188%. So now we feel that it is to ensure the climate justice, it is the responsibility of the international partners to come and join hands with us, to provide us assistance in our journey to become more and more resilient, more and more, building the communities which can not only manage the effects of the climate change, but also go back to their, houses and restart living their routine lives with, a new vigor and a new energy.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us. And if you have to step out, please feel free. I don't want to keep you if you have a flight to catch, but thank you very much. And I would like to invite our colleague Asim Zia, who was supposed to be on this panel, but we weren't sure if you were here. So glad to see that you made it, and thank you for joining us. Asim is a professor at the University of Vermont who works a lot on climate risk modeling. I would like to go to Animesh Kumar next, who is with us from UNDRR. You are driving the Early Warning for All initiative. And how's it going? How is the state of play when it comes to access to early warning systems, them just being in place? But then maybe also you want to reflect on some of the things that came from the presentation in terms of bridging the gap from having a system to it actually being effective out in the world.
Yeah, thank you very much. What I would do is to give a kind of a balcony view of where we are, but Adesu's presentation was very good because it really puts things in the context of the communities. I must say that Early Warnings for All has emerged as a unifying agenda across the global frameworks that we are seeing here. It is the 7th target of the Sendai framework. It is the 8th target of the Global Goal on Adaptation. It is under Paris Agreement Article 8 on loss and damage. And the same early warning system appearing across different agendas shows that how it is unifying. What I would do is to look into the Global Status Report and Early Warning System. We just launched the 4th edition. It's an annual report that comes out of Early Warnings for All. We launched it here on Wednesday at the COP, and I'm pleased to be the lead author of this report for the 4th time. The key headline message now is that we have 60% of the world as of now officially reporting having early warning systems. What is even more interesting is that the comprehensiveness of early warning system, which is what we see across the different pillars of risk knowledge, observation, communication, and dissemination, and early action. If we look across all of these, the score of early warning systems has globally increased by 45% in the last few years. It has actually doubled in the LDCs. But because of very low baseline, the LDCs in Africa still remain way behind. We also have a positive news to share. The number of the countries which have more comprehensive early warning systems have 6 times lower mortality in terms of the efficacy and effectiveness of early warning systems. Now, having gone through this process, if I look at the last 4 years of this report, and I approach it from a very community-centric angle, I'll share 5 key messages. The first one, to be able to truly community-centric, we need to have the right information. We need to have the right data. And that data needs to be as localized, as disaggregated as possible. Unfortunately, when we start working on data, it often gets aggregated at the time of collection. And once you aggregate it at the point of collection of the data, it's very difficult to disaggregate it at the national level. And hence it is very important that we keep the data disaggregated by sex, age, disability, income groups for every human-related impact of disasters. Very few countries are doing it as of now. If I look at the official statistics, out of 171 countries that are reporting on Sendai Framework Monitor, 100 countries are not reporting disaggregated data. That's the state of disaggregation that we have. So that is something which is very important, because if we don't have the right data, everything becomes meaningless after that. The second point is we have perhaps done very well in terms of investing into the right infrastructure, collection of data, making sense of it, and relaying that information in the form of early warning systems. But the last mile outreach of that information remains a problem. We know that early warning system works as a value chain. It's a value cycle. And this value chain is only as strong as the weakest link. And that weakest link often happens to be at the level of community, the last mile. If you have collected the best of data, analyzed that information, relayed the information in time, and made it reach the communities, and if the communities do not know what to do with early warning, it becomes meaningless. Early warning system breaks down at that point of time. That remains a big challenge for all of us, and we really need to ensure that the last mile outreach of early warning system needs to be further strengthened. The third element of this is the trust. If we want communities to really act on early warning system, they need to trust that system. They need to trust that data. They need to trust that risk information. Often there is trust deficit, and trust is a shared resource. We cannot just expect the subject of this to be the communities and the givers of the information to the government. It has to be a partnership. Unless the two data sources meet together, we will not be able to relay the right information, and the trustworthiness of early warning system needs to be further strengthened. The flip side of trust is the false sense of security. If the communities feel that the authorities are there to take care of us, even if we don't do anything, again, the early warning system stops working. The extension of this false sense of security is the fourth point, governance. If we don't engage communities in the governance of early warning system, they will not act. This inclusiveness is very important. It is just not a lip service. We need to understand that the communities are not just the target of early warning system, but the owners of early warning systems. And hence it is very important that we engage the communities in the policy process, ensuring that the data is collected from them. And work like GNDR and others are doing is a fabulous work to ensure that the data inclusiveness, data sharing is further strengthened. The final and the fifth point is technology. Often we'll approach early warning systems from a very technological perspective. I don't see technology as the primary thing. It's the last thing for me, and hence my fifth point. But we need to understand that it is just not about AI, machine learning, and big tech systems. We also need to look at the mix of systems. It should be a mix of high tech, low tech, and sometimes no tech systems. Unless we give this mix of technology with community awareness, with the community knowledge, indigenous knowledge, local knowledge, early warning systems will not be comprehended. If it is not comprehended, it will not move forward and actioned upon. And these 5 elements are very important to make early warning systems as robust, as strong as possible, because it adds to itself. The trust element remains the cornerstone, and trust does not just come with one warning. It comes with multiple warnings again and again, and if they're accurate every time, the trust becomes stronger and more pronounced. But I'm happy to say that these are not just challenges. We also have some solutions. Opportunities are coming up. The loss and damage landscape is evolving. I said about Paris Agreement Article 8, loss and damage, early warning systems. We do have a technical assistance mechanism. Now the Santiago network moving forward. UNDRR, we are very happy and proud to be the host of Santiago network. As of now, we have one country, Vanuatu, getting assistance. Second country, Yemen, has submitted the proposal. It is out. 20 more countries are in the pipeline as of now. And we really need to ensure that if communities really feel the need for stronger early warning system, it is one of the most eligible services that Santiago network can provide, apart from getting better data. And then that leads to the pipeline for the Fund for Responding to Loss and Damage, which has also been launched this Monday with $250 million at your disposal for accessing these kind of services. It also becomes even more interesting from the data point of view. The 8th target of the Global Goal Adaptation is on early warning systems. And I'm also, unfortunately, part of the expert group developing the indicators. I'm saying unfortunately because I don't know what the fate of these indicators is going to be. I hope the better wisdom prevails and we have an outcome on this process. But there are indicators, there are 10 indicators on early warning systems, and we have ensured that everything I've said, the 5 points that I mentioned, are part and parcel of these indicators. And of course, we have early warnings for all with a very community-centric and people-led approach that will really ensure that we have early warning system reaching out to every human being on earth in the time to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to actually call on your neighbor, Mr. Zakir Hossain, because what has come from the presentation and also from Animesh's intervention was this idea that we need to have co-ownership by communities. They shouldn't just be recipients of information that comes down, but ideally, you know, they also probably collect information. They make observations of how things are changing. So maybe you could share a little bit your experience from Bangladesh on like how the, you know, system can land at the community level and this co-ownership can actually be done.
Thank you. Thank you, Moderator. In fact, our community stories are different. Why? Because I belong to a tiny farming community, and it is from the southern part of Bangladesh. So it's our everyday life to face cyclone, storm surge, and flood, river erosion, and in recent, the salinity intrusion. So we are used to it, and genetically we are brave enough to face it, to have the struggle with the calamities, risks. From national perspective, the early warning system and disaster risk information is flat. It's flat for all. That doesn't help us. Since my community is intelligent enough to let me communicate with global actors and global stakeholders by investing through their annual food budget very often. I am thankful to them, of course, but what I bring to them, the knowledge, the forecast, or the policies, future policies, we bring it to the local level, and they make the experiment with the policy, and they make their own decision, and they extract the results and send me back with the result to the policy level. That's their main activities. With early warning system, well, we observe the early warning system from the national government and its floods, so we just observe it. But what we do research. Where are the real-time flood monitoring system? Which university? Colorado University, they have a very nice online flood warning system. So we collect data from there. Then we blend it with our local flood level, local water level. But there is another issue, that development is not risk neutral. And all the developments, they put some side effects on the locality. So that flood water will come here, say, after 5 years, but theoretically, it will go down in 1 hour or in 2 hours. But in practice, there are obstacles, there are infrastructures, so that it cannot recede. So we know how many days it will take to recede. Then what precaution we have to take to save our plants, to save our crops, to save our livestock, and to save ourselves, our housing. So we have the local development guideline, risk-informed development guideline. So we prepared it for our own and with our own. In that sense, that UNTRR knowledge and GNTRR knowledge support us very much, and we are grateful to them. For example, we train our school children to interpret the satellite data, satellite imagery, so in a play mode. So from the very beginning, they know what a satellite is and what data, what cloud will flow which way, or how much rain it will drop here. That's another part. When they grow up, they all have cell phones and they all have free apps. So they know that the cloud is coming, or so they have to prepare. They disperse the knowledge to their seniors. From the seniors, they have the traditional knowledge, but nowadays, since the climatic pattern has been drastically changed, so that knowledge doesn't fit fully. It works up to certain times. So we are trying to validate the knowledge and to upgrade the traditional knowledge with the changing climate pattern, so that in future we will have traditional knowledge transformation according to science, according to the latest climatic situation. That's one thing. About the preparedness, I can say that we rely on nature. We rely on nature rather than so-called development initiatives. So we conserve our local tree species as a green barrier. We have to fight a lot with policy, with people, even with my community, because it doesn't bring money, quick money, but it supports to several agenda of SDGs. It supports several goal of Sendai framework. It supports several theme of climate change activities. So yeah, in this way, we are in a position that we know what to do. We know what equipments, for example, lightning striking is becoming a new phenomena, especially for the farmers, but we don't have real-time forecast. So we are planning to build some Pi computers and connect it to online, so that our community will have real-time. That's our plan. We know how to do it, but we don't have the means. We cannot allocate our food budget to the computers. but we'll do it in some days. Well, in this way, we are in a position that we could become a unique community. So all the policy documents, what they are saying, what GNDR is proposing, what UNDRR is proposing, we are the community. So we could be the example. So you should, policy makers, global policy should target us because we are here. If you can target us with empathy, if you can target us with trust, that is the both way. So you have to trust us. We have to trust you. So it will be based on long-term interactions and understanding and the effectiveness. So if we are effective to you, that's why you call me here. And if you are effective to us, that's why I am here, so that we can build a partnership and we can make the policy effective at the ground level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think there's a few themes coming through, as we've had a week now of events here in the pavilion. And one thing that I think we've heard today and heard in previous sessions is this difficulty of dealing with things that are really out of the expected hazards. So that people have, as the director also from Punjab mentioned, people have lived with floods for a long time. People know they're kind of normal hazards, and yet now there's sometimes these hazards that are kind of really unexpected and not typical for the area. We heard from Cabo Verde that they got hit with rainfall that was like 1 year of rain in one day all of a sudden, and they had never faced something like this. So I think that is really a challenge. And then you also mentioned the trust, and I think this has also come strongly here that there's still a mistrust of communities. There's this feeling like, oh, they don't know how to handle the money and we need to control and whatever. And that there's a real need to shift that paradigm, right? And to put trust in the knowledge that people have, the knowledge of the solutions that they need, that they have, and to support that. So thank you. I would like to go to Tino Kunda, our youth fellow from Botswana. She's a drone pilot and working with that technical knowledge to support climate risks assessments. And I was wondering if you could share with us a little bit, like, what is the potential that you see of kind of these new technological solutions supporting broader climate risk data and like being available for early warning systems and for planning, but also the kind of translating this maybe into data that people can understand. So your perspective will be much valued.
Can you hear me? Thank you very much for the question. So my name is Tunokunda Chimoa. I'm from Zimbabwe, but I do most of my work in Botswana around drone technology. So just to give you an insight of what drones can actually do, they are more of like aerial cameras that come with different types of sensors that you can use for different purposes. But in the climate change space, because the whole idea of early warning systems comes with AI tools, ground sensor, hydro sensors, and people from coastal areas talk about ocean observation. But the conversation becomes a bit different from us in the sub-Saharan region because most of our countries are landlocked countries. There's no ocean observation where we come from. The floods come from elsewhere. We are hit by impact that is maybe coming from a high veld to a low veld, right? So just to give perspective, drones can enable us to do what's called mapping. So mapping will be us filling in the gaps that early warning systems that is powered by this externally beautiful technology that we have for early warning systems. So we'll have drones that can fill data gaps in areas with limited ground sensors, producing high-resolution floodplain and drought sense assessments. So this means we're going to have digital elevation models that enable us to know if we're going to have a flood, where is the water going to move from and where is it moving to. This will allow us to either do evacuations, preparedness in the right way, in the right manner, and know maybe the proper adaptation plans we need to put in place for areas in the low veld and for areas in the high veld. So they enable us to make decisions based on the data that is current. And because drones are readily available, this is real-time data, and they also come with metadata. So metadata just means your geolocations, your GPS locations, the date and the time. So we can be able to even have maps in areas for our local communities translated in the right language, in the right relatable context at a local ecosystem base. So this means we can even translate it to local languages for people in especially vulnerable communities where there's also language barrier and technological barriers, to say this is a map maybe of Kgalagadi, which is like near the desert, the Kalahari Desert in Botswana, translated to local language that they can comprehend. And because we're also translating to local language, there's that understanding at a local level, there's the trust at a local level, and you also be able to get access to indigenous knowledge. Because we've realized when you bring in technology, there's that gap that comes in with indigenous people. And Botswana, even as and including Zimbabwe, these are countries where technology is there, but it's not there for communities that are not closer to the central business district, if you want to call it that. So we want to create, drone technology enables us to create the most plain information for the most simple people, if that's how we're going to refer to them. And the other aspect that also comes in with the drones is we have the aspect of heat. We have drones that are equipped with heat sensors. For areas that have excessive heat dispensers, we can then say, how are we going to incorporate these communities into the national adaptation plans or our considerations when we're now coming up with solutions for affected people? So we have a drone that we can fly around an area, and the map would then include the heat range of that area. So instead of just having a general idea that, oh, it's 12 degrees in this area, let's have accurate numbers so that we also have accurate solutions for affected individuals. And then the last thing that we can also do with drone technology that I've been doing is mapping out flood-prone areas in Botswana. The idea came from the concept that we had floods in February 2025, and we currently have floods ongoing as we speak. So now that also that's going to add on to the project that we're working on under the African Climate Mobility Initiative. So what we are working on is mapping out all flood-prone areas and putting it on a hazard map that is acceptable to local people. And that way we then submit it to the government and local entities to say, these are our flood-prone areas, these are flood-prone affected communities. How best can we help and assist them incorporating the flood-prone areas into the settlement patterns or the master plan city planning concept? That way we can also then turn around to say, let's include climate change and climate mobility into the national planning ecosystem, because we don't want to keep having the same conversation over and over again to say, or they stay in flood-prone areas, then what? What's the next step? If we at least incorporate climate change, climate mobility, and all these hazard-prone areas into the planning institution and planning constitution, that means we're now obligated to plan accordingly. No one stays in a wetland, and if it's a wetland and we don't have anywhere else to move them, then let's get the right infrastructure allocated to them. Let's get the right resources. So drone technology in our concept under the African Climate Mobility Initiative is we want to bring the aspect of drones to add on to the early warning system initiatives that are already existing to fill in the little gaps without saying we don't need the AI or any other satellite-based technology. Let's add technology, little technology around the extensive big technology that we already have to allow small-scale communities. And the idea of drones that we also want to bring in, I'm so sorry I'm taking so long, is to also bring the education around it, because the idea of drone technology is still very far-fetched for some communities. So what we also want to do, and what I'm planning on doing, is do community drone technology and climate technology education. Know about the drone technology, and we'll equip our youth on how to fly the drones, how to utilize the technology, how do you then interpret the data after you collect it on a local level to say we've collected high level to low level data. How does it then interpret into the climate change space, so that we use it at a local level on a daily basis if need be, because I mean it's a drone, it's available every day. We can always collect data to fill in even movements of infrastructure, movement of water, movement of animals, movement of people. How is erosion moving from point A to point B, and how are people being affected? And then we still incorporate all of that into the urban planning system, because we still have an issue where people are settled in areas that they're not supposed to be in, but because institutions and resources are not being allocated adequately, so to say, if we're in areas where we're going to have a lot of water around, then let's bring the high steel infrastructure towards it then. Let them stay in those areas, because some people are so attached to their land and they don't want to move, and it's totally acceptable. But let's make sure they are appropriately positioned in a dignified, sustainable way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we are already way over time, but I would like to give Asim the closing word. I was just going to say I would love to actually have some time for discussion, because I feel like this has been a super interesting panel. Asim, over to you for final observations, and yeah, the pressure is on.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really sorry for being late, and really appreciated what I heard. And just like very quickly, I feel that there is a lot of space and discussion about information-based technologies in early warning. Like, we need to invest more in information. I personally think that in our assessment of the global early warning systems, like where they are, there's a lot more action that needs to happen in like building the capacity for early and anticipatory action. And that also needs to be like broken down into like operational, tactical, and strategic aspects of like what is the action that is needed once you receive the information. So it's one thing to act like for operational scale, like evacuation from flood, but more like seasonal scale forecasting and climate scale, like annual to decadal scale forecasting, requires strategic thinking, and mainstreaming that tactical and strategic information into your planning and policy and governance institutions I think is a big missing space that we need to actually take the action on that. And for that reason, we need to engage not only the communities directly, but also the entire governance system. Like both formal and informal institutional structures need to be taken in a trustworthy fashion, brought into that strategic and tactical action that needs to be taken. And I think like in terms of the metrics that you're talking about, that kind of like operational, tactical, and strategic like bifurcation, but also like what is the information, how much of the information is accurate at short, medium, and long-term scale, what is its spatial precision. So since this session is focused on the local information, I think I would like to give you information like say, with the new technologies, you can get a lot of more high spatial precision information, but that needs to be translated at hyper-local scale by actually having that institutional practices need to be changed in order to like make it mainstream that and make it more autonomously governing themselves, as opposed to that information is being fed to them and saying, okay, you need to act on it. So that linear paradigm of like science policy needs to be basically switched in the opposite way, where what is the action space for which what type of information is needed to understand what is the exposure and the vulnerability. And one final thing that I would like to say is like, right now I am serving as the co-chair of the impact-based forecasting systems on a NOAA project with the Office of Water Prediction. And we are basically looking at setting up impact-based forecasting systems. I think like there's a lot of room for action, like in terms of, for example, especially when we talk about climate mobility and anticipating the migration and anticipating the conflict drone migration, impact-based forecasting systems and impact-based early warning, early action systems can provide a lot of information, but also actionable information that could be used to prevent forced migration that is happening. Rather, we can have more planned migration or planned retreats where we need to at tactical and strategic scales. Thank you so much, and really appreciated the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Azim, and that was actually a great closing, so thank you so much, and thank you to everybody. I hope you can connect with the speakers after the session because we don't have time for Q&A, but it's a great session, and I'm glad we heard all these different perspectives, so thank you very much.